Hey guys, this is Keystone 101 here with an episode of NBA Talk. And pretty much what this is going to be about today is recent off-season moves and how the NBA has pretty much flip-flopped and become a two-team league this summer. And I want to start off by saying I know it's really late, but, I just thought it's still relevant because if I had done an earlier NBA Talk, probably would have had to make another one. So this is just a jumble one. And my first topic actually is not about any off-season moves. No, those will come later. This is about the finals that we just had. Thunder and Heat. And to me, this was probably one of the least achieving Thunder finals that we've seen in a long time. It didn't live up to the hype as much as people thought it would, especially for me when I first heard about it. I thought it was going to be an amazing finals. I thought we were going to see, just jumpers all day at the buzzer. 2 minutes left to go. Who has the ball? What's going to happen? I thought it was going to be like that for 7 games. Instead, we got about, was it 5 or 6? 5 or 6 games. 5 actually. 5 games of blowouts and pretty much just lopsided games. I think this is kind of at first I thought this was just the beginning of LeBron and KD, the rivalry that we were going to see. I was ready. But then, of course, the Lakers happened, and we'll get into that later. But I just want to talk about the games between these two. What we saw from LeBron was a lot of physical play, a lot of in your face, I'm going to drive to the rim on you, dunk, a lot of post moves, a lot of passing, which was very good for LeBron because that's what he does. But what we saw from Kevin Durant was a lot more jump shooting, and a lot more stuff that people wanted to see, I think, for both of these guys. They wanted to see shots in other teammates' mouths and stuff, and I think that was something that was pretty awesome from Kevin Durant, but we didn't get to see that a lot from the rest of the Heat. We saw from LeBron in some games, but that wasn't, jumpers. That was mostly just him going to the basket and him just taking over certain games. But other than that, Westbrook had a few good games. Wade and Bosh helped out, of course. The Heat's bench was very, 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 very important in the series. And for OKC, not so much. Their bench wasn't really, on par with the Heat's. The Heat's bench just came alive. They looked like they were 15 years younger with the shots they were hitting from the perimeter. So it was pretty awesome to see them. But Harden and the rest of the OKC bench, they did not really perform well as they should have, or as they could have, really, in this series. And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd have to give this this series a 6 or so, because while it was probably one of the better series we've seen in a long time, it was not the best, and it was not the greatest one that I've seen since I've started watching the NBA. Next topic, probably, first of all, the Dwight Howard saga and its end. As soon as the summer started, the Dwight Howard news picked up. Dwight Howard was interviewed by, Rob Hennigan of the new GM of the Magic, and he basically said, I want Brooklyn. So, Brooklyn fans all over the place went crazy, they went nuts. They were ready to see Howard in Brooklyn. But what happened? Months and months of delay. Just Dwight Howard going back and forth. Many trade offers were thrown out to Brooklyn by Orlando and vice versa, and neither of them were accepted. None of them were accepted. So what happened? They gave up. All indication looked like the Magic were ready to hold on to Dwight until the trade deadline this season. Bam, out of nowhere, he goes to LA. Now, here's why I have a few problems with this move. For one, the Lakers, very smart team. They have been very dominant in the NBA for a lot of years. But what they didn't do, to me, what they did do, actually, they set themselves up again for a long run for the next 2 or 3 years, depending on what happens, depending on if Kobe and Nash are healthy. But that is another issue, which we'll get into later on the video. First of all, what they did was they managed to basically restate their dominance in the West. the Thunder can still do it. They can still beat the Lakers, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be much harder for them because the Thunder don't have a very good inside presence when it comes to, a big man, a big defensive man, or even a big offensive man. So that's something they lack. That's something they really need. Same as the Heat with a center. The Heat don't have really, dominant center. They have a okay center, but they need a nice center to go along with Bosh because Bosh is not very defensive. He's mostly offensive. So what this did was set him up in the West. It gave him one of the best backcourts in the East and one of the best front courts. Pau Gasol is no pushover. Dwight Howard will motivate him and get him ready to go for the season, so that'll be fine. What it also did was it let other teams remember who the Lakers were. They're a very good trading team. They always get their man, and let people remember this. Now the West is basically going to have to fight against the Lakers. The Lakers will probably end up being the number 1 seed in the West if everything goes well, and OKC will probably be number 2, and that's how it'll go, and then the rest will fall into place. But you gotta just look at this and say, wow, we have our 1 and 2 seeds now for the next 3 to 4 years already in the NBA. It's crazy. Meanwhile, in the East, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't. Miami will probably be number 1 and going into the playoffs, but who's going to be number 2? Boston, Indiana, Brooklyn, New York, Atlanta. Well, not Atlanta probably because they have some years to get back. But who's going to be? Chicago? If Rose comes back, why can't it be Chicago? Not this season, but next season. As the number 2 spot going against Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. Why can't it be? The East is much more wide open than the West when it comes to who can make it to the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, and just the NBA Finals. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. A third topic, pretty much, is just where do you go from here in the NBA? What happens next? And to me, I think what should happen is simple. You got to get these smaller teams together, and you got to say, listen, something's got to be done. These big NBA teams are taking all the superstars. They have all the money. They can go over the cap, and they can do anything. So what do? The lockout really didn't solve anything. You still have these teams like the Lakers, the Nets, the Heat, that go over the cap. They'll go over the hard cap because they can afford to pay the luxury tax. So what do? Do you have a harder cap? A cap that says you can't go over this, there's no luxury tax? Or what do? And that's going to be interesting to see because a lot of people are not going to really know what to do if they can't get superstars to their teams. It's easy to say, well, we'll just go recruit these guys, but it's hard because you can't just do that, You really got to just pitch yourself out there and get smaller players to get larger fish, You got to start with some kind of bait to get larger fish. So where do you go from there? How do you start? And it's going to be interesting because when these greats retire, Kobe retires, Nash, Wade, these guys, what's going to happen? Kevin Durant, Rose are pretty much the next group coming up. They're the next guys having to take over, along with maybe Chris Paul. Maybe Darren Williams. He's entering his prime, so-called. So is Chris Paul. So are these guys going to be the next wave to make a splash in the NBA? And are they going to leave their respective teams? Will Kevin Durant ever leave Oklahoma City? Will Chris Paul ever leave the Clippers? It's something you just got to think about. And I mean, the NBA, this is why it has become less popular because it's very much one-sided or just 1 or 2 teams dominating the league. Whereas in football and baseball, it's much more popular because, there are different variables going into it. You can have a football team can catch a few lucky breaks on a fumble or something, still make the playoffs. Might not win the Super Bowl, but you can make the playoffs and they can have a good run. So if you're like me and you're a very good basketball fan, you're going to say to yourself, I better start paying attention because pretty soon it's going to become, very interesting as to where the NBA plans to go. And David Stern, he has not really made it known what he wants to do. This is perfect for him. As an NBA fan, you might say, well, now we can see Kobe and LeBron in the finals. I can't wait. But then as maybe another type of NBA fan, you can say, wow, now we got to see Kobe and LeBron in the finals for the next 3 years. This is going to be great. So it's different depending on who you are. Personally, for me, I was pretty excited because I thought I would have a chance to see different teams in the finals this year. coming from the West and the East, because I thought teams like the Nets, Indiana, I thought they had matured and they were able to take on Miami. Boston, kind of, and it depends. But now it's just, it's whatever. That might never happen. That won't happen for another good 4 or 5 years. And even then, what will happen? Other teams might leave their teams to make another super team. So is the NBA now a league of super teams just being constantly created? It just makes you think. But also, to go along with this, another thing. When do we truly start seeing smaller teams actually standing up to the league? I don't think it'll probably won't happen. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. And when we finally start seeing other players and things getting together and saying, listen, we just gotta, do something, because we don't have a chance to get to super teams. No one really does when you think about it. So those are just a couple of my thoughts on the NBA, especially with these new moves. And I mean, it's just swirling around these things. The whole idea, ever since with Dwight Howard, with loyalty, he said he was so loyal to the Magic, then he just gets traded to LA. Then you got guys like Ray Allen, he's a Boston Celtic for most of his career, and then he just ups and leaves, not most of his career, but I mean, he was most popular there, Then he just goes to Miami, the rival. And you have different guys leaving their teams to join these super teams just to get a ring, an easy ring, as some people would say. So, will it ever end? Does the NBA really have a solution for all of this? Who knows? I don't know. All I can tell you is I'll be watching it, and I'll be loving every minute of it, because finally, a team that I like will probably be in some sort of contention, even if it's for the Eastern Conference Finals, just some sort of contention. And as long as I am watching the playoffs with my favorite team, I really don't care about who wins the finals, as long as I actually can watch the finals with a team in it. So, I mean, I'll be watching some NFL, but mostly when basketball comes on, I'll be watching that. NFL doesn't have these issues. It's pretty much just anybody has a shot every year, anything can happen. Whereas the NBA, it's not that clear cut. There's always some sort of team that can just dominate. So, I think I'll end it off here, actually. And I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of this gameplay between Kevin Durant and LeBron. Something that we might see for the next couple of years or so. It'll be interesting to watch. So, guys, this is Keystone Wanna Run right here. And I just want to say, enjoy some football, enjoy some baseball, enjoy some basketball. And, most important,